folks, it's Brittany Jackson from Learning Technologies, and today I'm going to talk to you about creating a database in Moodle. So here I am in the Moodle playground like normal, and if I come up here I have to turn editing on first thing before I can do anything else. And so I'm going to scroll down here a little bit down to here, and we're going to click add an activity or resource. So find the topic area you want to put it in and click add an activity or resource, and here brings up all of the activity and resources available. And obviously database, you would click on database here. Just like everything else in Moodle, you need to give it a name. So I'm going to call it database test. And again, as always, you can put a description and display that description on your course page if you'd like, or you can leave that blank. Entries, this is going to be very similar if you've watched the video about the glossary. This is very similar to a glossary in the grand scheme of things. So do you want approval required? Do you want to allow comments on the entries? So can they comment on each other's entries? How many entries are required before they can view the database? So if they have to put in 2 before they can view, you would choose 2 there. Maximum number of entries, so you don't want one person filling them all in. So each person has to put in 2 or 1. So you would choose however many you think there. If it doesn't matter, then you can put none there. Availability, just like normal. So available from, I'm going to put it as January 31st, which is the date for today. I'm not going to turn off the availability, but I could. And I could turn it off until whatever date makes sense. And then I could also just make it read only from whatever date. So I'm going to go ahead and not enable that. And I can also cut off that date as to the last time they're allowed to read only as well. Outcomes, again, I leave as is. Ratings. So this is sort of like the discussion forums in that you can choose the average of ratings, the count of ratings, maximum, minimum. I'd probably do sum of ratings, especially if I want them to do 2 entries or something. So I'm going to say that it's 10 points, and I'm going to put it under assignments in this particular instance. Again, I tend to leave all of these as is unless I need to restrict the access for some reason, but the default settings in these work otherwise. So here I'm going to go ahead and hit save and return to course. Now I'm going to scroll down and find that database, which will be at the bottom of the list here. So here we go. It's a database. You can tell because it's got the 3 line like a check mark or to-do list kind of box. And if I click on database test, here we can choose the different fields that they can put in. So do we want it to be a checkbox, a date, a file, menu, lat long, multi-menu, number, picture, text area? So I'm going to choose text area because I'm going to have them enter in sort of similar to a glossary in this particular instance. Name and definition is what I'm going to put here. And then it's a required field. How many columns wide is it and how many rows wide is it? I'm going to leave it as is because that seems to be a good number to start. And if they need to include a file size, if they need to include a file, which this is the other option, which is why this is somewhat better than a glossary, they could include files more easily here. I'm going to put the maximum as 50 megabytes, although if I leave it as 0, the default will be what I want. And I'm going to leave it as 0 because actually that's the default I want. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and click add. So here we can see now in this database, we've now got a name, the text field, and a definition. So if I come over here and click choose list, currently there's no entries in the database. If I choose view single, still no entries right now. I can search the entries, and I'm going to go ahead and add an entry right now. Testing is the name, and because I made that required, you can see here that it is requiring it. And if we want them to enter tags, cool. If not, I'm just going to leave it as is. And in this case, I'm just going to leave it as is. And I'm going to hit save and view. So here I can go over to templates and I can create templates. So I can say, I want this template to have the name and the tags. I can choose these other options here as well. I can also reset the template to its defaults. I can do a list template. So what does the list look like? And again, I'm going to keep the default here. I can also add a template or use an RSS or CSS template or a JavaScript template. So this is where it goes beyond a glossary. And so I'm going to go back over here to fields, and I'm also going to add a new field, which is date. I'm going to say date. I'm going to say it's date entered, add. So now we've got 2 fields here. If I come over here to view lists, I can now see that I've got one of these entries, which I created, which is testing. And then I created a second entry called Moodle. So here I can see these. I can search and sort by them. I can add more entries. I can export it out. I can also, again, add more fields, change the template of how it looks, presets. Can I export it as a zip file or import from a zip file? I can also, if it's an image gallery, I can click there and click choose. So there's a lot you can do with the database, more so than you could do with glossary, but in some ways it's similar, that it creates a list of things that you can look at, but this way it's files or other information that could be really beneficial. So the other great thing about database is if you wanted to put in images, so if you want students to be able to put in images of artwork or other things that you want them to kind of categorize, this provides you another option and another way for them to do this. The glossary would work, but this is actually a little bit better option because you can sort better through this and you can see the entries more easily if you've got them in as images. So I'm going to add an entry here, and I'm going to go ahead and put in here, I'm going to go choose an image, browse repositories. I come over here and click on this PNG file. And so here you can see I can resize it just like I normally would. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here. Yeah, we're going to make this even smaller. So we're going to go ahead and hit, as always, if you put in an image, you should tell your students to make sure they just grab it. Image of Moodle screen. I'm going to hit save image. I'm going to now take this and hit save and view. So now I can see this, and if I come out here to view list, I can see it as an option. So they could create a database of images that might be a little bit faster and easier. You might want them to put names in them. Again, you can set this up more by adding additional fields. Again, you can choose just about anything. So here you could choose picture. That would probably be a better way to choose picture. And then you can set it so that when it's in single view or in list view, how wide and tall it is. You might just want to be careful. I might just put in the width or something so that it's never more than 350 pixels wide, but I may not put in a height because each one could be a little bit different. So I'm going to hit add on this one, choose picture, and click add. So here you can see now there's a picture field. So if I go add entry here, I could upload that picture as we discussed before. So then it will become more clearly an entry for a photo or a picture versus an entry for a definition or something along those lines. Again, this can be really useful in computer science courses or in art courses or anything where you have to kind of categorize things a little bit more than a glossary would. So here they could add in an entry and then people could add to it as well, just like you could do in the glossary, but I feel like this is a little bit more advanced. It does take a little bit of playing around with to get used to, but as always, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to help you with. So feel free to reach out and we can figure out what's the best way to help you at any given time. So that's really all there is to creating a database in Moodle. As always, if you have questions, feel free to stop by and see us. We are located in the library on the main floor, just before the Clock Tower Cafe. And as always, happy Moodling!